My name is Hannah Wilson, and I just turned 32. As a marketing executive, I could finally afford to celebrate my birthday at an upscale restaurant downtown. Everything was perfect until my sister Brittany stood up, glass in hand. I smiled, expecting a sweet birthday toast. Instead, she announced her engagement to Tyler, then dropped the bomb. "And you're paying for my dream wedding, big sis." Our parents nodded approvingly. They had no idea I had already booked my one-way ticket out of the country. Before I continue this unbelievable story, tell me where you are watching from in the comments below. If family drama makes you feel better about your own relatives, hit that subscribe button and stick around to see how I handled this birthday surprise. To understand why my sister would make such an outrageous demand, you need to understand my family. Brittany is 5 years younger than me at 27, and from the moment she was born, she became the golden child. Our parents, Martha and Robert Wilson, gave her everything while teaching me responsibility. This pattern defined our entire childhood and continued well into our adult years. Growing up in our suburban Pennsylvania home, I learned early that my role was to be the responsible one. When Brittany wanted a new bike, she got it immediately. When I needed new school supplies, I had to earn the money babysitting. "Hannah understands the value of hard work," my dad would say, as if that justified the double standard. During my high school graduation, my parents gave Brittany more attention than me because she performed a dance routine at the after-party. My achievement became secondary to her entertainment value. This pattern repeated when I graduated college with honors in marketing. My parents attended but spent most of the ceremony talking about how Brittany was doing in her first year of college. Despite the obvious favoritism, I worked hard to build my career. After college, I took an entry-level position at a marketing firm and steadily climbed the corporate ladder. Each promotion came through dedication and late nights, not family connections or handouts. By 30, I became the youngest marketing executive in my company's history. My financial stability came through careful planning and sacrifices. I lived with roommates for years when I could have afforded my own place. I drove the same reliable car for a decade, while Brittany went through 3 vehicles my parents helped finance. I built an emergency fund and investment portfolio while my sister accumulated credit card debt that my parents repeatedly paid off. Last month, I received a substantial promotion and bonus. The new position recognized my successful campaign for a major client that increased their sales by 40%. The bonus was significant, $80,000 before taxes. Somehow, my family found out about this windfall despite my attempt to keep it private. What they did not know was that I had applied for a position with our company's London office 6 months ago. My boss Gabriel had personally recommended me, impressed by my work ethic and innovative marketing strategies. 3 weeks before my birthday, I received the offer letter. The position came with a significant salary increase, housing allowance, and global travel opportunities. I accepted immediately and purchased a one-way ticket to London. The departure date was set for exactly 1 month after my birthday. I plan to use part of my bonus for the relocation and save the rest to establish myself in my new home. This was my chance to start fresh, away from the family dynamics that had drained me for decades. Only one person knew about my plans, my best friend Jasmine Taylor. We met in college and remained close despite life taking us in different directions. She understood my family situation better than anyone and supported my decision completely. "You deserve this opportunity, Hannah," Jasmine told me over coffee the week before my birthday. "Your family has taken advantage of your generosity for years. London is your chance to live for yourself." Gabriel, my boss, also became a supportive figure during this transition. A tall, distinguished man in his 50s with salt and pepper hair and kind eyes. He had mentored me throughout my career. When he suggested me for the London position, he emphasized that it was time for me to spread my wings. "Hannah, your talent is wasted in this regional office," he had said during our private meeting. The London team needs someone with your vision and determination. This is not just a promotion, it is your path to the global stage. My parents and sister knew nothing about these plans. They assumed I would continue my current trajectory, remaining nearby and available whenever they needed something. More importantly, they expected access to my financial resources. This pattern developed gradually. First, it was small loans to Brittany that she never repaid. Then larger contributions to family events. 2 years ago, when my parents wanted to renovate their kitchen, they hinted strongly that my Christmas gift to them should be contributing to the costs. The amount they expected kept growing until I paid for nearly half the renovation. Each time I considered refusing, the same fear stopped me. What if they withdrew their love completely? What if standing up for myself meant losing my family? So I complied, hoping each sacrifice would finally earn their appreciation. It never did. The morning of my birthday, I woke up feeling lighter than I had in years. In just 4 weeks, I would board a plane and start my new life. I decided to enjoy one last family gathering without the weight of their expectations. I even splurged on the restaurant for my birthday dinner, choosing an upscale steakhouse that would normally be reserved for major client meetings. I invited my parents, Brittany, a few cousins, and Jasmine. I specifically told everyone that I would be covering the entire meal, hoping this generosity would make the evening pleasant. Jasmine questioned this decision, pointing out that most families would pay for the birthday person, not expect them to foot the bill. That is just how it works with my family, I explained, having accepted this reality long ago. Well, at least they will not have anything to complain about, Jasmine replied, though her expression showed she disagreed with the arrangement. As I prepared for the evening, selecting a blue cocktail dress that complemented my eyes and styling my brown hair into loose waves, I felt a strange mix of emotions. Part melancholy about the relationships I wished I had with my family, part excitement about my escape plan, and part determination to get through one last family obligation before freedom. The conflict between family obligation and personal dreams had always torn at me. That night, however, I had no idea just how dramatically that conflict would come to a head, forcing me to make a decision I had postponed for far too long. I arrived at the Capitol Grill 15 minutes early to make sure everything was perfect. The hostess, a professional young woman named Alicia, led me to our reserved table decorated with subtle birthday touches. The private dining area overlooked the city's skyline, the setting sun casting a golden glow over the polished wood and crystal glassware. Your guests can order whatever they like, I told the server Marcus. All charges will go on my card. He nodded with a smile, probably assuming this was a normal arrangement for a birthday celebration. Jasmine arrived first, elegant in a black dress and carrying a small gift bag. Happy birthday! She hugged me tight. Are you ready for this? As ready as I will ever be, I replied, accepting her gift, a beautiful leather journal with a handwritten note inside, for your London adventures. Write your new story. My parents arrived next, my father Robert in a sports jacket he had owned for at least a decade, my mother Martha in a floral dress she had bought specifically for the occasion, the price tag of which she mentioned within minutes of arriving. Hannah, darling, Mom air kissed near my cheeks. This restaurant is quite upscale. Are you sure you can afford it? The question came despite her knowledge of my recent promotion. Yes, Mom. I can afford it, I said, maintaining my smile. Dad gave me a quick side hug. Happy birthday, kiddo. Brittany is parking the car. She brought Tyler with her. Hope that is okay. Tyler was Brittany's boyfriend of 8 months. I had met him twice and found him pleasant, if somewhat overwhelmed by my sister's personality. He worked as an accountant, steady and reliable, quite different from Brittany's previous boyfriends. The rest of the guests arrived in quick succession, Aunt Dorothy and Uncle Frank, my cousins Amanda and Jessica, and finally, Brittany and Tyler. My sister made her entrance in a red dress that drew all eyes to her, Tyler following quietly behind. Happy birthday, sis. Brittany hugged me, her designer perfume enveloping me. This place is amazing. I have never been here before. Once everyone was seated, Marcus took drink orders. I noticed both my parents and Brittany ordered the most expensive wines on the menu. My father selected a prime dry-aged steak, my mother the lobster tail, and Brittany both lobster and filet mignon. No one acknowledged that I was paying for everything despite it being my birthday. The conversation flowed around me, largely focusing on Brittany's recent trip to Miami with her friends, my parents' golf club membership, and Aunt Dorothy's garden renovations. Jasmine occasionally caught my eye with subtle looks of disbelief at how little attention was directed toward me on my own birthday. When the main courses arrived, I expected at least a toast to the occasion. Instead, my mother launched into a story about her friend's daughter who had just purchased a house. At only 29, Margaret Sarah already has a beautiful home in Chestnut Hill and engaged to a doctor. The implication about my single status hung in the air. As dessert was being served, my chocolate cake with a modest candle in the center, Brittany suddenly stood up, tapping her glass with a spoon. The restaurant's ambient noise diminished as people turned to look at our table. Everyone, I have an announcement to make, she said, her voice ringing with excitement. Tyler looked up at her with a nervous smile. I expected this might be some kind of birthday toast, finally acknowledging the reason for our gathering. Instead, Brittany extended her left hand, where a sizable diamond ring now sparkled. Tyler proposed last night, and I said yes, she squealed. The table erupted in congratulations. My mother burst into tears of joy, my father clapped Tyler on the back, and my relatives all leaned in to examine the ring. I sat stunned, watching my birthday disappear under the wave of my sister's news. I composed myself and offered genuine congratulations. That is wonderful news, Brittany. Tyler, I am so happy for you both. Just as I thought the moment had passed and we might return to acknowledging my birthday, Brittany raised her glass again. And the best part is, Hannah is going to pay for my dream wedding, she announced, beaming at me. Right, big sis? With that huge bonus you just got. The table fell silent. Tyler's smile froze, looking confused. Jasmine choked on her water. What? I managed to say, certain I had misheard. Your wedding gift to us will be funding my perfect day, Brittany continued, oblivious to my shock. I have always dreamed of a huge celebration at the Langham estate. Now with your bonus, we can make it happen. I am thinking next spring, which gives us about 8 months to plan everything. I looked at my parents, expecting them to correct this outrageous assumption. Instead, they were nodding approvingly. That is very generous of you, Hannah, my mother said, as if the matter was settled. We were just talking about it last week, my father added. With your new promotion and no family of your own to support, this would be a wonderful way to contribute to Brittany's happiness. They had discussed this behind my back. They had planned this ambush at my own birthday dinner that I was paying for. I never agreed to this, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Brittany, Tyler, congratulations on your engagement, but I cannot fund your entire wedding. Brittany's face fell instantly, her practiced pout appearing. But Hannah, you have so much money now. What else are you going to spend it on? Just your boring apartment and work clothes. That is not the point. I tried to explain. A wedding is the responsibility of the couple or traditionally the bride's family, not the bride's sister. Do not be selfish, Hannah, my mother cut in sharply. Family helps family. We have always taught you that. When have any of you helped me? The words escaped before I could stop them. My father's expression hardened. We gave you everything you needed growing up. We supported your education. I paid for my own college with scholarships and student loans, I reminded him. Loans I just finished paying off last year. Well, we provided a loving home, my mother said dismissively. And now it is time for you to show your gratitude by helping your sister have the wedding of her dreams. Tyler finally spoke up, looking uncomfortable. Brittany, we never discussed asking your sister to pay. I thought we were going to save up ourselves. That would take forever, Brittany whined. Hannah can afford it now, and I do not want to wait years to get married just because of money. I felt tears threatening and knew I needed to leave before I broke down. Standing abruptly, I placed my credit card on the table. Dinner is covered. Enjoy the rest of your evening celebrating the engagement. Hannah, do not be dramatic, my mother called as I gathered my purse. We will talk about the wedding budget tomorrow when you have calmed down, Brittany added confidently. Jasmine stood to follow me. This is completely inappropriate, she told my family firmly. It is Hannah's birthday, and you have all ignored that to make demands on her finances. I walked out with as much dignity as I could muster, Jasmine close behind. Once inside my car in the parking garage, I finally let the tears come. I cannot believe they did that, I sobbed as Jasmine sat beside me in the passenger seat. They planned this. They deliberately used my birthday dinner to corner me about paying for Brittany's wedding. That was one of the most appalling displays of entitlement I have ever witnessed, Jasmine agreed. Are they always this blatant? They have never gone this far before, I admitted, starting the car. But the pattern is the same. Brittany wants something, my parents enable her. And I am expected to make sacrifices to make it happen. The drive home was a blur of streetlights and tears. I kept replaying the scene in my mind. The casual way they had assumed control over my finances, the complete lack of consideration for my feelings or plans. When I reached my apartment, Jasmine insisted on coming inside. She made tea while I changed into comfortable clothes, my beautiful birthday dress now associated with humiliation. Have you told them about London? She asked as we sat on my sofa. No. I shook my head. And now I am terrified about their reaction. If they expect me to pay for a wedding, how will they respond to me moving to another continent? Hannah, this is exactly why you need to go, Jasmine said firmly. They will never stop taking from you as long as you are accessible. London is your chance to break the cycle. As Jasmine left that night, I stood in my living room looking at the framed photo of my family from Christmas last year. We were all smiling, but I noticed now how I stood slightly apart from the group. My smile not quite reaching my eyes. I took the frame down and placed it in a drawer. Then I opened my laptop and looked at my London flight confirmation. In 4 weeks, I would be free. The thought gave me strength even as I dreaded the conflict that would inevitably come before then. The morning after my birthday disaster, I woke to 14 text messages and 3 voicemails. All from my family. I ignored them and got ready for work, needing the normalcy of my office routine. But as I prepared my coffee, my phone rang again. Brittany. After 4 calls in a row, I finally answered. Hello. Finally, Brittany exclaimed. I have been calling you for hours. Why did you leave so early last night? We were going to order more champagne to celebrate. Her complete lack of awareness left me speechless momentarily. Brittany, it was my birthday dinner, which you hijacked to announce your engagement and demand I pay for your wedding. Oh, do not be so sensitive, she dismissed. Your birthday happens every year. My engagement is a once-in-a-lifetime event. Anyway, I am sending you some venue options this morning. The Langham is my top choice, but I also like the Grand Peninsula Hotel and the Rosemont Estate. They are all around the same price point. What price point is that? I asked, dreading the answer. Base packages start at $50,000, but with my customizations, probably closer to $75,000, she said casually, as if discussing lunch options. $75,000? I nearly spilled my coffee. That is insane, Brittany. Even if I wanted to pay for your wedding, which I never agreed to, that amount is completely unreasonable. But you got that huge bonus, she countered. Dad said it was at least $80,000. So you can totally afford it. The fact that they had been discussing my finances behind my back infuriated me. How I spend my money is my decision, not yours or Dad's. Whatever. Check your email. I sent the venue links. We need to book soon because these places fill up fast. Oh. And I will need $10,000 as a deposit by next week. She hung up before I could respond. Seconds later, my email notification pinged with her message containing links to 3 extravagant wedding venues, each more opulent than the last. At work, I tried to focus, but the situation consumed my thoughts. Gabriel noticed my distraction during our morning meeting. "Hannah, are you all right?" he asked when the others had left the conference room. "You seem preoccupied." "Just some family drama," I said, not wanting to elaborate. "If you need time to sort things out before the London move, just let me know," he offered kindly. "Thank you, but I am fine," I assured him. Though in truth I was far from fine. Throughout the day, the texts continued. My mother called twice, leaving voicemails about discussing the wedding plans and how I needed to be reasonable about contributing to my sister's happiness. My father sent an email with the subject line, "Family Financial Responsibilities," outlining why I should fund Brittany's wedding, citing my substantial income and lack of other financial commitments. By the end of the workday, I had nearly missed an important client deadline due to the constant interruptions and stress. I stayed late to complete the project, grateful for the quiet office, after everyone else had left. 3 days later, Brittany insisted we meet for coffee to discuss wedding details. Against my better judgment, I agreed, hoping to clearly communicate my boundaries in person. I arrived at the cafe to find Brittany already there. A massive 3-ring binder open on the table labeled Dream Wedding. She wore an expression of excited anticipation that faltered slightly when she saw my serious face. "I ordered you a vanilla latte," she said as I sat down. "Now I have narrowed it down to the Langham. Look at these photos of their ballroom." "Brittany, we need to talk about something else first," I interrupted. "I never agreed to pay for your wedding. That was an assumption you and our parents made without consulting me." She blinked as if I were speaking another language. "But you have to," she said simply. "Tyler and I cannot afford it, and Mom and Dad already said they are contributing by paying for my dress and the honeymoon. That does not automatically make me responsible for the rest," I explained. "Especially not a $75,000 celebration." "But what about your bonus?" she persisted. "That money is already allocated for other things," I said firmly. "What other things could possibly be more important than your only sister's wedding?" she demanded, her voice rising enough that nearby patrons glanced our way. I considered telling her about London but decided against it. "My financial plans are private, Brittany." Her expression shifted from confusion to anger. "You are just being selfish. You have always been jealous of me, and now you want to ruin the most important day of my life." "That is not true," I said, keeping my voice level. "I am happy to give you a reasonable wedding gift, but I cannot and will not fund an entire luxury wedding." "Fine," she snapped, slamming the binder shut. "I will just tell everyone that my successful sister refused to help me because she is too busy hoarding her money like some dragon. I am sure all our relatives will love to hear how you abandoned your family the minute you got successful." She stormed out, leaving me sitting alone with 2 untouched lattes and a knot in my stomach. The threat of family alienation, her primary manipulation tactic, hung in the air. That evening, my mother called. "Hannah, your sister is devastated. She cried for hours after your meeting." "Mom, I cannot spend $75,000 on her wedding. That is an unreasonable expectation." "No one is asking for $75,000, she said, though Brittany had explicitly mentioned that figure. "But you could contribute $50,000, surely. Consider it an investment in family harmony." The conversation went in circles, with my mother alternating between guilt trips, manipulation, and outright demands. When she suggested I use my vacation time to help with wedding planning, I nearly lost my composure. "Mom, I need my vacation time for other commitments, I said, thinking of my impending move. What commitments? You do not travel. You do not date. All you do is work, she replied dismissively. After hanging up, I called Jasmine in tears. I am starting to wonder if I should just give them some money to make this go away, I admitted. Maybe $20,000 as a wedding gift. Hannah Wilson, do not you dare, Jasmine said forcefully. If you give in now, this pattern will never end. Today it is a wedding. Tomorrow it will be a house down payment, then private school for future children. There will always be something. But what if they're right? What if I am being selfish? My confidence was wavering. Choosing yourself is not selfish, Jasmine reminded me. You have spent your entire life trying to earn their approval through sacrifice. Has it ever worked? She was right. No matter how much I gave, it was never enough to change the fundamental dynamic. That night, I took out my London plane ticket and placed it on my refrigerator with a magnet. 3 weeks until freedom. I could endure anything for 3 more weeks. The following Sunday, my mother insisted I attend a family dinner at their house. We need to resolve this wedding situation as a family, she said in a tone that brooked no argument. I agreed, planning to stand firm on my boundaries despite the inevitable pressure. When I arrived, I was surprised to see my Aunt Linda and Uncle Paul already there. They greeted me warmly. Aunt Linda hugging me close. We hear you got a big promotion, she said. Your parents are so proud. My parents had never actually expressed pride about my career achievements, but I smiled and thanked her. As more relatives arrived, I realized this was not a small family dinner, but a gathering of our extended family. My cousins Amanda and Jessica, Uncle Steve, and even my grandmother Beatrice were all present. In the kitchen, I found my mother arranging appetizers. I thought this was just immediate family for dinner, I said quietly. Everyone wanted to congratulate Brittany and Tyler, she replied without looking up. Brittany made her entrance 20 minutes later, Tyler beside her looking slightly uncomfortable. She showed off her engagement ring to everyone, accepting congratulations and fielding questions about wedding plans with excitement. Hannah is making it all possible, she told Aunt Linda loud enough for everyone to hear. She is funding the entire celebration at the Langham. Is not that generous? My jaw clenched as I realized Brittany had told everyone I had agreed to pay. Before I could correct this assumption, my mother called everyone to dinner, seated around the large dining table. Conversation centered entirely around the wedding plans. My grandmother asked about the guest list, which Brittany explained would be around 200 people. Uncle Paul asked about the band, which would cost $8,000 alone. We have already put deposits down on several things, Brittany announced, glancing at me. The venue required $10,000 to hold the date, and the photographer needed a retainer. I froze with my fork halfway to my mouth. You put down deposits? With what money? Well, we used our credit cards, Tyler said. Speaking up for the first time. Brittany said you would reimburse us this week. Tyler's expression suggested this arrangement was news to him as well. He glanced between Brittany and me with growing concern. I need to speak with you privately, I told Brittany, standing up. Excuse us, I said to the table. In the kitchen, I confronted her. You put down deposits expecting me to pay for them when I explicitly told you I would not fund your wedding? I knew you would come around eventually, she shrugged. You always do. Besides, we will lose the deposits if you do not pay, and then it will be your fault our wedding is ruined. This is emotional blackmail, Brittany, I said, my voice shaking with anger. I cannot believe you would put Tyler in this position too. Does he know you are trying to extort money from me? Do not be so dramatic, she rolled her eyes. It is not extortion to expect family to help each other. And anyway, I need this money more than you do. What are you talking about? I have some credit card debt, she admitted reluctantly. About $30,000. I was hoping to pay it off with part of the wedding money. I stared at her in disbelief. So this is not even all for the wedding? You want me to pay off your personal debts too? You do not understand how hard it is for me, she said, tears filling her eyes on command. I do not have your salary or your bonus. I have struggled while you have had it easy. The injustice of her statement struck me speechless. I had worked for everything I had, while she had received constant financial support from our parents. My parents entered the kitchen then, clearly having heard our raised voices. What is going on? My father demanded. Brittany put down non-refundable deposits for wedding vendors, expecting me to pay for them after I clearly said I would not, I explained. Well, you should have been clearer about your intentions, my mother said, immediately taking Brittany's side. She naturally assumed her sister would want to support her happiness. I have been completely clear, I insisted. This is not about supporting her happiness. This is about being expected to hand over tens of thousands of dollars without any discussion or consideration for my own financial needs. What financial needs? My father scoffed. You are married to your job. You have no husband, no children. What do you need all that money for? His dismissal of my life and choices hit like a physical blow. My value as a person is not determined by my marital status or whether I have children, I said, my voice steady despite my racing heart. Of course not, dear, my mother said condescendingly. But family should be your priority, and right now, Brittany's wedding is the family priority. Has it occurred to any of you that I might have my own priorities? I asked. My own plans for my future. What plans? Brittany asked suspiciously. You never mentioned any plans. A commotion from the dining room interrupted us as Tyler appeared in the kitchen doorway, holding a piece of paper. My blood ran cold as I recognized the letterhead of my company's London office. Brittany, what is this? He asked, confusion evident in his voice. I went to use the bathroom and passed Hannah's coat in the hall. This fell out of the pocket. He held up my job offer letter from London, which I had brought to show Gabriel some details during our last meeting. I had forgotten it was still in my coat pocket. You are moving to London? Brittany shrieked, snatching the letter from Tyler. In 3 weeks. My parents crowded around to read over her shoulder, their expressions changing from confusion to anger. You were planning to leave the country without telling us? My mother asked, her voice trembling. While your sister is planning her wedding? I was going to tell you, I said weakly. Though in truth I had been postponing that difficult conversation. When? The day before you left? My father demanded. How could you abandon your family like this? I am not abandoning anyone. I defended myself. I am accepting a career opportunity that is important to me. More important than your sister's wedding? More important than your family, my mother pressed. Tears forming in her eyes. This is so typical, Brittany spat. Hannah always puts herself first. She pretends to be the responsible one, but when it really matters, she runs away. Tyler looked between us all, clearly uncomfortable with the family drama unfolding. Maybe we should all calm down and discuss this rationally, he suggested. There is nothing to discuss, my father declared. Hannah needs to decide what matters more, her selfish career ambitions or her family obligations. Something inside me snapped at those words. Years of suppressed frustration and resentment bubbled to the surface. Family obligations? I repeated. Like the obligation to support and encourage each other's dreams? To respect each other's boundaries? To celebrate each other's successes instead of seeing them as resources to exploit? My voice grew stronger with each word. I have spent my entire life trying to earn your approval through sacrifice and compliance. I paid for my own education while you financed Brittany's. I helped with your house renovation when Brittany needed money for a car. I even paid for my own birthday dinner last week where you all ambushed me with demands for more money. The kitchen had fallen silent, my family staring at me in shock. I am taking the job in London, I continued firmly. I am not paying for a $75,000 wedding. And I am done apologizing for prioritizing my own well-being for once in my life. I grabbed my coat and the London letter from Brittany's hand. Tyler, congratulations again on your engagement. I suggest you have a serious conversation with Brittany about finances before you marry her. The rest of you, enjoy your dinner. I walked out of the house to the sound of my mother calling my name and Brittany's theatrical sobs. In my car, I took deep breaths to calm my racing heart. Despite the conflict, I felt a strange sense of relief. For the first time, I had stood up for myself without backing down, without compromising my needs to keep the peace. As I drove away from my parents' house, I felt as though I had crossed a threshold from which there was no return. The confrontation had been painful, but perhaps necessary. The truth was finally out, and with it, the pretense of family harmony had shattered. What would emerge from the pieces remained to be seen. The morning after the family dinner confrontation, I took concrete steps to protect myself and my future. My first call was to my financial advisor, Carolyn. I need to make sure my accounts are secure, I explained after summarizing the situation. My family knows about my bonus, and I am concerned they might try to access it somehow. Carolyn recommended changing all my passwords and security questions, adding two-factor authentication to my accounts, and placing a verbal password on any phone interactions with my bank. Family financial pressure is more common than you might think, she assured me. We will make sure your assets are protected. Next, I contacted Gabriel to discuss expediting my London move. Is there any possibility of moving up my start date? I asked during our private meeting. Some family situations have developed that make staying here increasingly difficult. Gabriel listened attentively as I gave him a condensed version of recent events. I understand completely, he said when I finished. Let me speak with the London office. We might be able to arrange for you to start 2 weeks earlier than planned. That afternoon, I began preparing my apartment for sublease. The timing worked perfectly, as Jasmine's cousin Heather was looking for a short-term rental in the city. We arranged for her to move in the day after my departure, ensuring my apartment would be occupied and cared for during my absence. Jasmine came over after work to help me sort through my belongings, determining what to take to London, what to store, and what to donate. Have you heard from your family since last night? She asked as we categorized kitchen items. 17 missed calls, 29 text messages, and 5 voicemails, I reported. I have not responded to any of them. What are they saying? Everything from my mother's tears about family betrayal to my father's stern lectures about responsibility to Brittany's accusations that I am ruining her life, I sighed. The usual emotional manipulation, just at a higher volume. Are you going to respond at all? Jasmine asked. Not yet, I decided. I need space to think clearly without their voices in my head. The next day at work, my temporary calm was shattered when Brittany appeared at my office reception area during lunch. Your sister insists on seeing you. My assistant Patrick informed me with an apologetic expression. She says it is a family emergency. I braced myself and agreed to see her in the small conference room. Brittany entered with red-rimmed eyes and a determined expression. You need to fix this, she demanded without preamble. Mom has been crying nonstop, Dad is furious. And my wedding plans are falling apart because of you. I am sorry everyone is upset, I said calmly. But my decision stands. I am taking the London position, and I am not paying for your wedding. You are choosing a job over your family, she accused. How can you be so cold? I am choosing my long-term happiness and well-being, I corrected her. Something I should have done years ago. What about my happiness? She countered. Does that mean nothing to you? Your happiness is important, but not at the expense of mine, I explained. You and Tyler can still have a beautiful wedding within your actual budget. Many couples do. She stormed out after calling me several choice names, causing a scene that had my colleagues watching curiously through glass walls. I retreated to my office, shaken by the confrontation but still resolved. That evening, my confidence wavered as I scrolled through family photos on my phone. Was I making a terrible mistake? Would I regret severing these ties, problematic as they were? As if sensing my doubt, my colleague Dorothy Thompson called. At 64, Dorothy had been with the company for over 30 years and had become something of a mentor to me. "Patrick mentioned your sister's dramatic visit," she said. "I hope everything is all right." I found myself confiding in her about the entire situation. She listened without interruption, then shared her own story. "When I was about your age, I had a similar opportunity abroad," she told me. "My family guilted me into turning it down to help with my brother's business. He promised to repay me, but never did. I always wondered what my life might have been if I had prioritized my own path." "Did you regret staying?" I asked. "Every day for many years," she admitted, "until I finally realized I could not change the past, only the future. I set firm boundaries and rebuilt my career. But I never got another opportunity like the one I sacrificed." Her story strengthened my resolve. "Thank you for sharing that with me, Dorothy." "Go to London, Hannah," she said firmly. "Do not make my mistake." Over the next week, my family escalated their pressure tactics. My mother sent a handwritten letter full of emotional appeals about family loyalty. My father called my boss's office, though thankfully Gabriel refused to discuss my employment details with him. Extended family members began reaching out, having been fed a distorted version of events. "I heard you are abandoning Brittany right before her wedding," my cousin Jessica texted. "That seems really harsh." I did not engage with these messages, focusing instead on my preparations. Gabriel confirmed my expedited start date, allowing me to leave in just 10 days. I booked a new flight, arranged international banking, and completed the necessary paperwork for my work visa. My apartment was slowly transforming as I packed essentials for London and stored sentimental items. The walls grew barer as I removed photos, many of which featured family gatherings where my smile never quite reached my eyes. Jasmine helped me donate furniture I would not need and arranged for a cleaning service before Heather moved in. "Are you scared?" she asked as we taped up another box. "Terrified," I admitted, but also excited. For the first time, I am making a decision based solely on what I want, not what others expect of me. The day before my departure, I completed my last day at the regional office. My colleagues threw a small going-away gathering with cake and well wishes. Gabriel presented me with a leather portfolio engraved with my initials. "London is lucky to have you," he said warmly. "Stay true to yourself, Hannah. That is what got you here." That night, I could not sleep. My suitcases stood ready by the door, my carry-on packed with essentials. Jasmine would arrive at 7 the next morning to drive me to the airport. My new life was just hours away, yet the weight of unresolved family conflicts sat heavy on my chest. I paced my half-empty apartment, second-guessing my decision despite all the evidence that it was the right one. The familiar pull of family obligation warred with my newfound determination to prioritize my own needs. By dawn, I had made peace with my choice, ready to face whatever came next. At 6:30 the morning of my departure, I was sipping coffee in my kitchen when the doorbell rang. Expecting Jasmine a bit early, I opened the door without checking the peephole. I froze at the sight of my parents and Brittany standing in the hallway. "We need to talk," my father said, his tone leaving no room for argument. "How did you know I was leaving today?" I asked, reluctantly stepping aside to let them in. "Aunt Dorothy mentioned your going-away party yesterday," Brittany replied. Her eyes widened at the sight of my packed suitcases by the door. "So you are really doing this?" My mother noticed the nearly empty apartment and gasped. "You have gotten rid of everything? Were you even going to say goodbye?" "I was going to call from the airport," I admitted, which sounded weak even to my ears. "That is your idea of family consideration? A phone call before abandoning us?" my father demanded. "I am not abandoning anyone," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I am accepting a job opportunity that is important for my career. More important than your sister's wedding? More important than your family?" My mother's voice broke. "This is not a competition," I explained. "My career advancement and Brittany's wedding can both happen. They are not mutually exclusive. Except you refuse to help with the wedding, Brittany interjected. The deposits are due this week, and we will lose the venue without your contribution. I never agreed to contribute. I reminded her. You made that assumption without discussing it with me first. Because that is what family does, my father insisted. They support each other. Support should go both ways. I countered. When have any of you supported my goals or dreams? When have you ever put my needs above Brittany's? They exchanged uncomfortable glances, unable to provide examples. Hannah. We have always loved you, my mother said, changing tactics. We are proud of your success. You have never said that before, I noted. Not when I graduated with honors. Not when I received promotions, not even when I became the youngest executive in my company's history. The only time my success seems to matter is when you want access to my money. The harsh truth hung in the air between us. My father opened his mouth to argue when the doorbell rang again. This time it was Tyler, looking flustered. Sorry I am late, he told my family. Parking was difficult. He nodded awkwardly to me. Hannah. Tyler, I acknowledged, surprised by his presence. I did not expect to see you here. I thought everyone should be present for this conversation, my father explained. Tyler looked around at the packed suitcases and boxes. You are really moving to London today? My flight leaves in 4 hours, I confirmed. Without resolving the wedding situation? Brittany asked incredulously. There is nothing to resolve, I said firmly. I cannot fund your wedding. I have other financial commitments, including relocation costs for London. What about the deposits I already put down? Brittany demanded. The venue, the photographer, the caterer? They all need to be paid this week. Tyler's expression shifted from discomfort to confusion. Wait, you already put down deposits? You told me we were waiting to discuss budgets with your parents before committing to anything. Brittany faltered. Well, I had to secure the best vendors before they were booked by someone else. How much have you committed us to? Tyler asked, his voice growing concerned. Just the essentials, she said evasively. The Langham Ballroom, Garrett Phillips Photography, Elegant Events Catering, the 10-piece orchestra. Brittany, we talked about this, Tyler interrupted. We agreed to be realistic about what we could afford. But Hannah was going to pay for it all, Brittany insisted. With her bonus. I never agreed to that, I repeated for what felt like the 100th time. Tyler turned to Brittany, his expression serious. How much have you already committed to with these deposits? Brittany looked away. About 20,000 so far. 20,000? Tyler exclaimed. That is our entire savings plus some. And you did this without discussing it with me. I knew Hannah would cover it, Brittany said defensively. She always gives and eventually. The room fell silent as the manipulation was laid bare. Tyler stepped away from Brittany, running a hand through his hair in distress. There is something else you should know, he said after a moment. Brittany, I am sorry, but Hannah needs to understand the full situation. He turned to me. Your sister has a shopping addiction. She has maxed out 5 credit cards and has been hiding the bills from me. I only discovered it last week when a collection agency called our apartment. Brittany's face crumpled. Tyler, you promised not to tell anyone. That was before I knew you were planning to use your sister's money to bail you out, he replied. Hannah has a right to know why you are so desperate for her to fund this wedding. My parents looked stunned. Is this true, Brittany? My mother asked. It is not an addiction, Brittany insisted. I just like nice things. And I was going to pay off the credit cards with part of Hannah's wedding contribution. So this was never just about the wedding, I realized. You needed my money to cover your debts too. You have plenty of money, Brittany said bitterly. You would never even miss it. That is not the point, Tyler interjected before I could respond. The point is that you lied to me, your fiancé, about our financial situation. You made commitments without consulting me. And you tried to manipulate your sister into covering for your irresponsibility. My parents stood frozen, their carefully constructed narrative about their perfect younger daughter crumbling before their eyes. We had no idea, my father said quietly. Brittany, why did you not come to us if you were in financial trouble? Because you would have judged me, she snapped. Hannah is the responsible one, remember? I am just the pretty, fun one who cannot possibly handle adult problems. We never said that, my mother protested weakly. You did not have to, Brittany replied. You have always treated Hannah like she should handle everything while treating me like I am incapable. So I proved you right. Happy now? The dysfunctional family dynamics that had shaped us both were suddenly exposed in the harsh light of truth. I felt a strange sense of vindication mixed with sadness for my sister. I am sorry you are struggling, Brittany, I said genuinely. But I cannot fix this for you. Neither financially nor emotionally. Then what am I supposed to do? She asked. Tears streaming down her face. The wedding venue is booked. People are expecting an announcement. My credit cards are maxed out. You face reality, Tyler said firmly. We scale back the wedding to something we can actually afford. You get financial counseling for your spending issues. And we build our marriage on honesty, not fantasy. He turned to me. Hannah, I am sorry for the position Brittany put you in. I had no idea she expected you to fund our wedding or that she had already made commitments based on that assumption. Thank you, Tyler, I said. Appreciating his honesty. I think you are going to be good for my sister. The doorbell rang again. This time it was Jasmine, arriving to drive me to the airport. She took in the scene with raised eyebrows. Should I wait in the car? She asked uncertainly. No, I said, checking my watch. We need to leave soon to make my flight. You are really going through with this? My mother asked, her voice small. Leaving the country while your family is in crisis? I took a deep breath. Mom, Dad, Brittany, I love you. But this family has been in various states of crisis my entire adult life, always requiring me to sacrifice my needs for someone else's. I cannot put my life on hold anymore. I picked up my carry-on bag. I am taking this job in London because it is an amazing opportunity that I have earned through hard work and dedication. I would love to have your support, but I am going with or without it. And the wedding? Brittany asked tearfully. I will send a gift when the time comes, I said gently. A reasonable one, within my budget. But you and Tyler need to plan a celebration you can afford without my financial assistance. My father looked at me with new eyes, perhaps seeing me clearly for the first time. You have changed. Hannah. No, Dad. I have finally become who I always was beneath the people-pleasing and guilt. Someone with dreams and boundaries and self-respect. Jasmine began taking my suitcases down to her car. My family watched in silence, the reality of my departure finally sinking in. Call us when you land, my mother said finally. A reluctant acceptance in her voice. I nodded, picking up my last bag. At the door, I turned back to them. I hope we can build a healthier relationship moving forward. One based on mutual respect rather than expectation and obligation. As Jasmine drove me to the airport, I felt a complex mixture of emotions. Grief for the family dynamics I had wished for but never had, guilt for the pain my departure was causing, but predominantly, a profound sense of liberation. My phone rang just as we reached the airport. It was Tyler. Hannah, I just wanted to say I respect what you did back there, he said. Standing up for yourself could not have been easy. Thank you. Tyler, I replied, touched by his support. Take care of Brittany. I think she needs help more than anyone realized. I will, he promised. And good luck in London. Your family might not have said it, but what you have accomplished is impressive. I hung up and walked into the terminal with Jasmine, ready to board the plane that would take me to my new life. The London rain greeted me when I landed at Heathrow Airport, a fitting welcome to my new beginning. My company had arranged temporary housing in a furnished apartment in Kensington, and a car service delivered me there from the airport. Exhausted from the flight and emotional confrontation before my departure, I fell asleep almost immediately, waking the next morning to the unfamiliar sounds of London traffic and the realization that I had actually done it. I had chosen myself. My first week at the London office passed in a blur of new faces, procedures, and challenges. My new boss, Catherine, was direct and professional, immediately assigning me to lead a campaign for a prestigious British clothing brand. The work was demanding and exhilarating, requiring all my focus and creativity. For the first time in years, I went days without thinking about family drama or obligations. My phone remained conspicuously silent. No calls or messages from my parents or Brittany. Part of me was relieved for the space, but another part felt the absence acutely. Had I permanently damaged these relationships by standing my ground? At the end of my first week, I received an unexpected email from Tyler. "Hannah, I hope London is treating you well. Things have been intense here since you left. Your parents helped us cancel most of the extravagant wedding arrangements Brittany had made. We lost some deposits, but not nearly as much as we feared. Brittany has agreed to see a financial counselor about her shopping issues. It is a small step, but an important one. Your departure forced everyone to face some uncomfortable truths. Take care." I read the email several times, touched by Tyler's kindness and encouraged by the positive developments. I sent a brief reply thanking him for the update and expressing hope for Brittany's progress with the counselor. As I settled into my London routine, I decorated my temporary apartment with a few personal items I had brought along. Unlike my place back home, I displayed no family photos. The absence was both liberating and sad. A visual representation of the space I needed. Jasmine and I video chatted weekly. She kept an eye on my apartment and reported that Heather was taking excellent care of the place. During our third call, she mentioned running into my mother at the grocery store. "She asked about you," Jasmine said carefully. "Wanted to know if I had heard how you were doing in London." "What did you say?" I asked, surprised by my mother's indirect approach. "I told her you were thriving." She seemed genuinely glad to hear it, Hannah. Maybe a bit sad too. I digested this information, unsure how to feel about this tentative olive branch. Did she say anything else? Just that they miss you. She seemed different somehow. Less imperious. The following day, I received a short text from my mother. "Thinking of you. Hope London is everything you hoped for. No demands, no guilt trips, just a simple expression of care." I replied with equal simplicity. "Thank you. It is challenging but rewarding." That brief exchange opened a careful, distant line of communication. Every few days, my mother would send a text. Usually just a simple update about the weather or a neutral family event. I responded in kind, neither of us mentioning the wedding drama or my departure. 3 months into my London position, I had established myself as a valuable team member. My campaign for the clothing brand exceeded expectations, earning praise from clients and colleagues alike. I had made a few friends at work and joined a weekend hiking group that explored the English countryside. My life was full and satisfying in ways it had never been before. One evening, I received a video call request from my parents. With some trepidation, I accepted. "Hannah," my mother said, her face filling the screen alongside my father's. "You look well. London agrees with you." "Thank you," I replied cautiously. "I am doing well here." "We have been doing some thinking," my father said, uncharacteristically subdued, "and some talking with a family therapist." This surprised me. My parents had always dismissed therapy as unnecessary. Brittany's issues made us realize we might benefit from some outside perspective, my mother explained. Sensing my surprise, the therapist has helped us see some patterns in our family dynamics that were not healthy for anyone, including how we treated you and Brittany differently. "We put too much responsibility on you from a young age," my father admitted. "And we enabled Brittany's irresponsible behavior. Neither was fair." I blinked back unexpected tears. "Thank you for saying that. It means a lot to hear you acknowledge it. We are trying to do better," my mother said. "With both of you. Brittany is making progress with her counselor. And the wedding has been completely replanned on a realistic budget. I am glad to hear that, I said sincerely. We miss you, Hannah, my father added. And we are proud of what you have accomplished, both professionally and personally. It took courage to make the choice you did. The validation I had sought for so long finally came when I was no longer desperate for it. I smiled, feeling a knot of tension I had carried for years begin to loosen. Thank you. That means more than you know. The conversation ended on a positive note, with tentative plans for them to visit London in the spring. I sat in my apartment afterward, processing the unexpected shift. The relationship was far from healed, but for the first time, I saw potential for something healthier. 6 months into my London life, Jasmine came to visit for a week. We explored the city together, laughing and taking ridiculous tourist photos at all the landmarks. You seem different, she observed as we sat in a pub in Notting Hill. More confident, more yourself. I feel different, I agreed. Setting boundaries was the hardest thing I have ever done, but also the most necessary. Any regrets? She asked. I considered the question seriously. About moving to London? None. About how things happened with my family. I wish it had not required such a dramatic break to create change. But I do not regret standing up for myself. A week after Jasmine's visit, I received an email from Brittany. Attached was a wedding invitation, much simpler than the extravaganza she had originally planned. The ceremony would take place in our parents' backyard with 50 guests, followed by a reception at a local restaurant. We would love for you to be there, Brittany wrote. No strings attached, no expectations. Just my sister celebrating with me if you want to. I read genuine change in her words, an acknowledgement of the boundaries I had established. After careful consideration, I booked a 2-week trip home for the wedding, scheduled for exactly 1 year after my departure. Returning to my hometown felt strange after so long away. I stayed with Jasmine rather than my parents, maintaining the healthy distance I had established. The wedding was lovely in its simplicity, Brittany radiant in a dress that, she proudly told me, she had purchased on sale. Tyler and I are sticking to a budget, she explained during a quiet moment at the reception. The financial counseling has been really helpful. I am learning to distinguish between wants and needs. I am proud of you, I told her sincerely. She looked down at her champagne glass. I owe you an apology, Hannah. A real one, not just for show. I was horrible to you, expecting you to fund my irresponsibility. I took advantage of your generosity for years without appreciation. Thank you for acknowledging that, I said, touched by her sincerity. Are you happy in London? She asked. Very happy, I confirmed. The work is challenging, and I have made good friends. I am even dating someone, a graphic designer I met through work. Good for you, she said without a trace of the jealousy that would have colored such a statement in the past. You deserve happiness, Hannah. You always did. The rest of my visit passed pleasantly. My relationship with my parents remained a work in progress, but the boundaries I had established held firm. They asked about my life in London with genuine interest, and I shared my successes and challenges openly. We avoided the deeper issues that had divided us, a tacit agreement to focus on rebuilding basic trust before attempting more difficult conversations. When it was time to return to London, my parents drove me to the airport. At the departure gate, my mother hugged me tightly. We are learning, she whispered. Slowly, but we are trying. That is all I ever wanted, I replied. On the flight back to my new home, I reflected on the journey of the past year. The painful birthday dinner that had catalyzed such dramatic change seemed like a lifetime ago. The scared, people-pleasing woman who had sat at that table no longer existed. In her place was someone stronger, someone who understood that true family support went both ways, someone who knew her own worth. My apartment in London welcomed me back, now fully decorated to reflect my personality and interests. No more blank walls or temporary furnishings. This was home now, a space I had created for myself. That evening, I stood at my window watching the sunset over the London skyline, feeling a profound sense of peace. The journey had been difficult, but necessary. I had learned that setting boundaries was not selfish but essential, that saying no to others sometimes meant saying yes to yourself, and that real love never required the sacrifice of your dreams or self-respect. My phone pinged with a text from my mother. Landed safely? Simple, respectful of my independence. Safely home. I replied, realizing I truly meant both words. Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with family members? Comment below and share your experience. Was there a moment when you had to choose your own path despite family pressure? How did it turn out? I would love to hear your stories and know I am not alone in this journey. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more real-life experiences. And remember, choosing yourself is not selfish. It is necessary for your well-being. Thank you for listening to my story, and I wish you the courage to stand firm in your own truth.